Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode in my Minecraft survival world. We're here at the notorious villager breeder right here, and I've been spending a lot of time, like many hours in between episodes, just trying to figure out exactly what was wrong with this thing, because barely any villagers was breeding or spawning. Actually a few did spawn, about 3 villagers, but that's just because I had messed around with it so much and basically tried to put the villagers in different configurations and things like that, and I moved them in between the different breeding cells, and nothing was really working. And then I realized what a complete derp I was being, because I didn't actually use the world download and didn't follow UnariBit's tutorial properly, because well, the main part of the tutorial was actually in the world download, because you could actually build the farms from scratch, and there were sort of resettable steps and things like that, which were so extremely useful. So if you do want to build this kind of thing, make sure, if you're building this design especially, which I will link in the description, I kind of forgot to do that in the last few episodes, you really need to use the world download, and you really need to look at all of the steps and do it properly. So now if we actually go over to this place, and if you're wondering why there's a snowman here, well, I was just using him as a sort of crazy little snow farm right here, just because we needed the snowballs to actually move the villagers around and sort of separate them and things like that. So you can see that they are breeding at the moment. I've got to give them some more food though, and you can actually see that they're properly arranged like this. So they weren't like this before. They were all kind of just messed up, and I kind of just dashed them into the pods. I didn't do it properly. You had to actually use a very specific method. So putting 2 in one side, 2 in the other side, and then 1 in one side, and all the complicated stuff like that. But after I did that, it actually works out really well. So you can see that they're all pretty brilliant right there, and the same with over here as well. And these guys are all exhibiting the hearts as well, which shows that they're ready to breed. But the only problem is that I haven't actually given these guys enough food, so I need to go and actually break these glass blocks. Although I really want to kind of keep these glass blocks. I think they look really cool, to be honest, just staring down at the villagers like that. But yeah, so we're going to have to give these guys more food. But as you can tell, we've only got 2 of these modules filled up. And there's an important thing about this, which is that I'm going to have to actually break these and let these guys fall out and go back into their little containment cell eventually, because you can't actually sort of fill up these other cells now that these guys have all been put into here. You have to do all 4 cells at once, otherwise it won't work. Because for example, I might have to break this slab right here, and there's another slab down there which I might have to break to be able to fill up this cell. So I won't be able to do that because these villagers will then escape. So I kind of have to do it all at once, all 4 cells all together. So I'm going to have to break these cells, and I can only do that once this villager breeder actually spawns 16 villagers. So you can see it spawned 1 right here, and we've got these 2 cells filled up, so we've got 16 villagers there. And when 16 more get spawned here, what I'm going to do is basically link up this rail line right here all the way along here, reconnect it here, and make a kind of a stairway or something which leads into this pod. And then once they get into this pod, I'm going to get those 16 villagers into this area right here. Then I can break off those cobblestone walls, let those 16 villagers fall down and go into that pod right there. Then I can destroy all of the extra rail line which I built and get these guys back along from this pod right here and bring them along and fill up basically the breeder, but with all of the cells being filled up at the same time, if you kind of get what I mean. But it's a bit complicated. There are a lot of steps, as you can tell, and it's much more complicated than I originally thought and that I'd originally sort of prepared for. So yeah, basically I've been spending a lot of time here working and getting this thing up and running, but it now is working. As you can tell, we've got 1 who has spawned, but I think they need a little bit more food, which is why I'm going to have to go and break those glass blocks up there. Alright, so a lot of villager breeding has taken place right here, and we have an absolute ton of villagers in that pen over there. You can see that I've turned hitboxes on by pressing F3 and B. So that's just a little cool thing that you can actually do to get all of the hitboxes of all the mobs and things that you can see. So it's a lot easier to actually see where other mobs like zombies and things are. I guess you can call this a little bit cheaty, but I find it quite useful. And so obviously, yeah, all of the villagers have breeded up. We've got much more than 16 villagers, and we've got some extra ones over here. These are the 16 actually from this villager breeder itself, so from the actual cells, which I just recently broke and sent into that cell right there. And those are the other, I think we've got about 25 or so other villagers down there. So I think I'm just going to go to sleep. And now I'm finally ready to go and actually build this villager breeder completely. So this thing will be completely done now. And boy oh boy, have I got some big plans for what I'm actually going to do with all of the villagers which we produce with this farm. So well, as I'm kind of just building this thing up right here, I guess I can kind of explain what I've got in plan, or planned anyway. So as you can see right here, we've got the whole arrangement of all of these sort of pens and everything. This is how you have to start off, I think, and it looks really quite epic actually. I think this is probably going to be the thumbnail of the video because it's quite a nice pattern right here. That looks pretty cool. But we basically have to fit in the villagers into each of these sides, so you have to do it in a kind of a methodical way. I'm going to have to block off some of these holes and things like that, and then I'll do that in just a second. But yeah, I think I'm ready now to actually get the villagers into here, and it should be pretty fun. Alright, so I'm working to get the first villager right here into its position, and I'm really sorry for all of the villager noises and all of the last cuts. I've actually turned that volume down now. Again, I made that mistake, which is pretty annoying. I'm sorry about that. And I realized that I was getting pretty annoyed by the villager noises as well. So this is actually what you need to do to get the first villager in. So I've blocked up all of the other ends, and you can see that we have to get the villager between the cobblestone wall right here and the fence post, just like that. So that's perfect. Now we can go and get the second villager, and so we have to get another villager right here, which shouldn't be too much of a problem because we've got 16 actually in here already in the system. And so I can just hit that minecart right there, get another villager. So I really love this system. Everything is really organized, although it is a bit crazy because we have one minecart right here, or one rail line, sorry, and another one right here which goes to that pen, and then another one leaving that pen. So it's a bit crazy with all of the different minecart lines right here, and it does get a little bit confusing sometimes, but it is all very efficient and it's working quite well, which is always fantastic. So ensuring that I don't fall into any of these holes, I should get this guy into this bit as well. So basically this is the first step. We have to get two villagers into one sort of side, because if you imagine that this fence post is a center block of a villager breeding cell, and there are 4 villager breeding cells right here. So in each cell there are actually 8 villagers, so there's 2 on each side if you like, and you kind of have to do them in this kind of systematic way. So now I'm going to close off this bit right here so no more villagers can fall into this block, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. So you can see why you kind of need to do it all at once now, as I was explaining before. And yeah, I'm just going to fill up these guys completely with villagers, and then we should be good to go. So guys, I'm just moving in some of the last villagers here into this pen, so I can bring them over to there. I've reconnected this rail line over to the breeder itself, and I'm just filling in the last few breeding cells right here with the last few villagers. And I just wanted to say, if you guys are actually thinking of building this kind of villager breeder, or this design in particular by UniBit, you know, it may seem a little bit daunting at first, and it may not work out, but I think you should persevere with it, because I mean, I've had tons of problems, as you probably know if you've watched the last few episodes, with villagers, and it's been really quite crazy. I think I need to go and take some out of here though. And it's been, you know, really difficult at times, but I've kind of persevered, and it's worked out pretty well for me. As you can see, this thing is nearly up and running, and you know, using this design just to get these 16 villagers, it was really quick and really efficient. It was actually extremely fast to get, you know, the amount of villagers that I did, and I got so many in surplus that I actually had to shut off the villager breeder. I had to destroy the doors up here because it was going too fast and I needed it to stop, just so I could go and actually place these guys in and empty out all of the cells and things like that. So although it is quite difficult at the same time to build something like this, like there's a lot of preparation you need. Hopefully this video will kind of give you an idea of how to do all of it, you know, how to prepare for making the villager breeder and things like that. You can see I've got sort of 2 block high walls, and actually you should probably need 3 block high walls, because if you're using water streams, the villagers can actually jump up and down and kind of escape, and there are weird things like that. I think I've already got 2 villagers in here, so I've kind of accidentally put this one in here, but it's okay, because what I can do is just do the next step and place this guy into here, which is where he's meant to go. So this cell will actually be complete if I go and push him into here. And also having sort of hitboxes on and things like that can be extremely useful. So as you can see here, we've got the 8 villagers right there. And yeah, obviously preparation is pretty important when it comes to moving around villages. Doing something like this and, you know, following the tutorial properly is extremely useful, and especially if you're using this particular design by UneryBit, I would urge you to go down and look at his description and do the world download, because the world download, I've actually got it open in another window of Minecraft right now, and I'm actually flicking back to that every so often just to look at each and every step of how to build the breeder. And it's really the only way that you'll know how to build this thing, because there are quite a few complicated steps, and if you don't use the world download, you'll have no idea, and you're just trying to make up your own method, which will really go terribly wrong. So I highly suggest downloading that video, that world download from his description if you are building this thing, and also get a few ideas of how I've done sort of this pen as well. We've got glass blocks up and around, just so again the villagers don't escape due to water streams and things like that whenever you place water. And I guess this guy will just bounce back, so that's okay. And yeah, I think I already mentioned about the hitboxes being a really useful tool to help you. And this snowman's here, by the way, just so we can use the snow to separate some of the villagers when we put them into the pens, although I've not needed that thus far, which is pretty good. So I'm just going to go and put this guy into his pen, whichever one it is, and then we should be nearly done with this whole build. All of the villagers are into their respective cells, and we only have one more little bit of piston pushing right here to actually get these guys all in and safe, which will be absolutely awesome. So I can push this thing in here, and that's the first stage. So now I have to go and I think go over these with glass or any other block, but glass is the safest option, I think. So I'll just go and place those there. And yeah, that should be it. That is everything done. That is absolutely awesome. And it's looking pretty cool at the moment, just having all of these things covered in glass. So that is all of our villagers in. Alright, so this villager breeder is looking pretty cool indeed. I've gone and actually decorated this thing and added in a few bits of white stained glass and some iron instead of what was there before, which looked pretty terrible. It was just cobblestone, so this looks a little bit better. But the slight problem is that I'm going to have to do the whole villager thing again. And yeah, I know that sounds like a crazy amount of work, and it isn't too long though, because I'm pretty experienced with it now, and I should be able to do it without actually even looking at the tutorial world, so that should be okay. But the thing is that all 3 of these breeding cells worked perfectly. So this one, and this one. But this one over here somehow just didn't work out, and the villagers didn't get aligned. They're all bobbing about all over the place, and I actually accidentally fell in there, and actually I thought that something could be wrong in the way that I placed the fence post, so I destroyed a fence post, but that there was only one there, which was how it was meant to be, so that wasn't the problem. And then I accidentally killed one of the villagers with my axe as well. The axes can be pretty powerful, as you can see. I kind of one-hit it and killed it. So this axe is super powerful. It's got 9 attack damage, which is the same as my diamond sword, so you get the idea. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go and basically break the cobblestone walls and start this process again. But it should be okay. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. and I think I'll do just fine getting these guys back in. And once I do, we will be done with this farm for real, and basically everything is done, and I just need to go and replace these guys in that one cell. Pretty much all of the cells need to be replaced just because of that one, and once I do that, then we will actually be done with this farm, finally. I literally turned this thing on about a second ago, and this is how many villagers have spawned. It's absolutely ridiculous. I just connected up the village and a crazy amount of villagers have just started to spawn, and this is crazy. This whole thing is working a treat. It took me ages to actually refill the villagers back into the system, but now it's working. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's super crazy. This system is very efficient. And really awesome indeed. So now finally I can actually talk about what I'm actually going to do first of all with these villagers, because because this project is technically not over yet. We still have a few things that we need to do. When I say a few things, I mean a pretty big project that we're going to work on in conjunction with this one. But this is looking so cool so far. As well, there is a ridiculous amount of zombies here, as you can see. And I really think there is only one thing to do with these guys, because I've been using TNT to blow up the sides of the walls here, which I'll explain, you know, whenever I get a chance, because I don't think now's the right time to explain. So I think there's only one way to really get rid of these guys. And okay, well, there you go. Let's hope this blows some of them up, because seriously, yeah, there you go. That is how you get rid of zombies. Let's do another one right there. Oh yeah! Oh, they're kind of walking out of it now. Yes! That is how you get rid of zombies. And there are a ridiculous amount of zombies here. I don't even know what's going on here. This is crazy. Come on, blow up. Yes! That is the best zombie killing that I've ever done. I'm very proud of myself there. That was crazy. So guys, as you can tell, I am back at the villager breeder right here, and I'll show you what I was getting up to in the last cut in just a second. It's all the way over there in the distance somewhere. But yeah, we're back at the villager breeder, and there's some bad news. Well, there's two bits of bad news. First of all, I actually died, and I lost my shovel. I don't know where that's gone, and my armor's all pretty much dead as well, apart from these mending boots. So I'll have to get that repaired at some point, you know, with the 0 XP that I currently have. So I'm going to have to get some XP from somewhere. But the other big problem is that, unfortunately, this villager breeder has kind of gone messed up. So the villagers definitely should not look like that. As you can see, they've still got the hearts and everything. So this cell is working. This cell is also working. It's working perfectly. And obviously all of the villagers still have the correct positions. But these three are kind of messed up, and these two in particular, I haven't actually seen any baby villagers being spawned, so they may not be working, but they may also be working. I'm not actually sure, because this one does seem to be working, because I've seen one baby villager actually spawn from that one, and this one's working perfectly. So yeah, I'm not really sure how this has happened, because it shouldn't have happened. This whole thing is actually built within a single chunk. As you can see there, that is the boundary corner bit of the chunking. That kind of goes along this bit right here. This isn't even part of the farm technically. It's just a little outside structure that I've made, so it shouldn't really interfere with anything. And yeah, we've got another iron block right over here, I think somewhere. And then there's another one over there. So you can see that this whole thing is technically within a chunk. But I think what I'm going to have to do is rebuild it again. Which is annoying, and I'm gonna have to actually move this thing into sort of the middle of the chunk. That might hopefully like fix the problem and mean that these guys don't get messed up again. But as you can see, it is working. Even with one cell, even if this is the only cell running, it's producing so many villagers that that entire platform is completely filled up. So I've got no problems with that at the moment, and I definitely won't have to rebuild it right now. But I will need quite a few different villagers, and they all have to be farmers for the next project, which I'm doing over there. And I kind of revealed it to you just there. Okay, so this thing that you can just see rising over the hill right here, this is what I was talking about. As our next project, I've been building this thing up for just a few minutes, or probably more than that. I've kind of lost track of time, and it's looking pretty cool. It's looking pretty interesting. You're probably wondering exactly what it is, but of course I revealed kind of in the last cut that this is a kind of a farm. It's a villager farm where the villagers automatically farm all of the crops in here, and we're going to have loads of layers. I think I'm probably going to make like 6 layers on this thing, just because you guys know I go completely crazy when it comes to builds like this, and I go completely out of proportion and don't think about any of the scales of things. So I'm just going to build this thing up gradually, and we're going to actually need to have 2 villagers on each level. So say I build 6 levels, or maybe 7 levels like I'm planning to do, then we'll need maybe 12 or 14 villagers. And all of them actually have to be brown coats, so that means they have to be farmers or fishermen or something like that, but they're all basically farmers. So we need farming villagers, and I don't know if we have like 14 brown coat villagers in there, but we're still getting more from the breeder, despite the fact that it is slightly broken. So it should be okay, and we should have enough villagers to actually go ahead with this build. But yeah, I am afraid that we have exceeded today's time limit, unfortunately. So that will be the end of the episode for today, and we'll have to actually carry on this build in the next one. And the good thing about the villagers and the layers of this thing is that we can actually just sort of build the layers when we get more villagers. We don't have to worry about building all the layers all at once. And I don't think I actually explained why we're doing this, because I'm a totally crazy person and forgot, you know, to explain that. And the reason is, of course, we're going to get loads and loads of crops from this thing, but obviously I do have my own crop farm back at base, all the way behind me. But that one takes ages to harvest all of the crops and replant them, and we need loads of crops. We need loads of foodstuffs for the villager breeder that we just built, which is actually consists of 32 villagers and 4 cells. So if we actually want to get loads of villagers from that thing, then we will need loads of food, and this is the best way to do it. So we're going to get the villagers from the villager breeder to basically feed themselves, essentially. They're going to be running the whole system, and we're just going to have a few water streams and things like that leading over to the villager breeder and kind of going around all of the 4 villager breeding cells. And that should all work out perfectly if I rebuild the breeder and get them all fixed and all of them looking nice, just like they did before. But that is pretty much it for today's episode, guys. So thanks for watching. If you did like the episode, please be sure to leave a like down there, and if you really liked it, then feel free to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.